There is one modern item that sits in nearly every driveway in this country, an item most folks would sooner give up their right arm than live without, an item they see as pure freedom itself. And my people have looked at it for 100 years and quietly said, no, we will not own that. And I'll tell you right now what it is, because I won't keep you guessing. It's the automobile, the car. Now, I know how strange that sounds, maybe even foolish, in a world built entirely around the automobile, but I promise you the reasons we refuse it are deeper and wiser than you'd ever guess, and once you understand them, you may find yourself looking at that car in your own driveway with new eyes. So let me tell you why. Let me say first what this is not, because it's easy to misunderstand. We are not afraid of the car. We don't believe it's some evil machine. We're not ignorant of how it works, and we'll even ride in one when there's true need, hiring a driver for a long journey or an emergency. What we refuse is to own one, to build our lives around one, and there's a world of difference in that. And I'm not here to tell you that you must sell your car or to look down on you for having one. That's not my way, and it's not the spirit of this at all. What I want to do is show you what my people see when they look at that automobile, the true cost of it that most folks never once stop to reckon, so that you can decide for yourself, with clear eyes, what place it ought to hold in your life. So here is the first and biggest reason, and it's the one that surprises people most. The car scatters a community, and we will not let our community be scattered. Think about what the automobile really does. It lets a person go anywhere, quickly, easily, far. And that sounds like nothing but a good thing until you follow it out to where it leads. When you can go anywhere, you no longer need what's near. Your work can be far away. Your church can be far away. Your friends, your family, the people you shop from and visit and depend on, all can be scattered across a great distance because the car makes the distance nothing. And so, bit by bit, the car pulls a community apart. It lets everyone spread out, live far from one another, drive off in 100 separate directions. My people refuse the car because we have chosen, above almost everything, to stay close, to live near one another, to have our neighbors truly be our neighbors, within walking or buggy distance, not scattered miles away. The horse and buggy keeps our world small on purpose, keeps everything and everyone close, and in that closeness is a togetherness the wider world has lost entirely. That's not a limitation to us. It's the very thing we're protecting. The second reason follows right from the first. The car breaks the tie to the land and the local. When a family has a car, the whole world opens up, and the near world, the local world, quietly loses its hold. Why buy from the neighbor when you can drive to the cheaper store far off? Why depend on what's grown and made right here when you can fetch anything from anywhere? And so the local bonds, the little web of a place where everyone knows and needs and helps one another, it frays and comes undone. But when you have no car, your life stays rooted right where you are. You buy from your neighbors. You depend on your local community. You know your place and the people in it deeply, because your whole life happens within it. That rootedness, that belonging to a place and its people, is something precious, and the car quietly dissolves it. We keep the car out so as to keep our roots deep. The third reason is about the pace of life itself, and this one runs deeper than you might think. The car doesn't just move you fast, it speeds up your whole life. When you can go anywhere in minutes, you try to do more, be more places, cram more in. The car makes life faster, busier, more hurried, more scattered across more places. The horse and buggy, by its very nature, keeps life at a human pace, a slower pace, the pace people lived at for all of history until just lately. When it takes real time to get somewhere, you go fewer places, and you're more present in each one. You're not forever rushing off to the next thing. There's a rhythm to a life lived at the speed of a horse that the modern hurried life has utterly lost, and it's a rhythm the human soul was made for. The car promises to save you time, but what it really does is fill all the time it saves with more rushing. We keep the slower pace on purpose because we believe a human life is meant to be lived at a human speed. The fourth reason is one folks find surprising, and it's about pride and keeping up. The automobile, more than almost any other thing a person owns, became a way to show off, to display wealth and status, to compete. There's always a newer, finer, faster, more expensive car to want, and folks pour themselves into wanting it, working and striving and going into debt to have a better car than their neighbor, to be seen in the right one. It became a great engine of pride and envy and endless discontent. And my people prize humility above almost everything, and we guard against pride wherever it creeps in. By all keeping to the plain horse and buggy, there is no competing, no showing off, no keeping up with the neighbor's finer car, because we all travel the same humble way. That removes a whole great source of pride and envy and striving from our lives at a single stroke. It's a quiet freedom you can hardly imagine until you've lived without that endless competition. And the fifth reason is about self-reliance and what a community can do together. Here's a thing worth pondering. A car ties you to a whole vast system you don't control and can't provide for yourself. The fuel, the parts, the repairs, the roads, the whole enormous machine of it, all beyond you, all dependent upon. But a horse you can raise, feed from your own land, care for yourself, breed more of. A buggy, you or a local craftsman can build and mend. The old way keeps you self-reliant, tied to what you and your community can actually provide, rather than dependent on a system that stretches around the whole world and could fail you. There's a deep security in that, in your transportation being something you can feed from your own fields and mend with your own hands, beholden to no far-off company at all. Now let me be fair and honest, because that's always my way. I am not telling you the car has no good in it. It's a powerful, useful thing, and it has brought real goods into the world, and I'd be a liar to deny it. And I am surely not telling you that you must give up your own car and hitch up a buggy. Almost none of you are called to that, and that's perfectly all right. Your life is built in a different way than mine. But here is what I would ask of you, and it's the real heart of the whole matter. Don't let the car be a thing you never once think about. Don't just accept, without ever questioning it, that your life should be scattered across great distances, that your work and your friends and your family and your church should all be far flung, that you should live at the frantic pace the car makes possible, simply because the car makes it possible. Ask yourself the question we ask. Is this thing serving the life I truly want? A life of closeness and roots and a human pace? Or is it quietly scattering that life, pulling it apart, speeding it up, past what my soul can bear? Most folks have never once asked it. They simply built their lives around the car the way everyone does, without ever choosing it on purpose. And that's the difference. We chose, deliberately, with open eyes. And you can choose too. Because even if you keep your car, and nearly all of you will, you can still take back some of what it quietly took. You can choose to root your life more locally, to buy from nearer, to know your actual neighbors, to not scatter every part of your life across 100 far-flung miles just because you can. You can choose to slow down, to drive less, to be more present in fewer places rather than forever rushing between many. You can refuse to let the car become a source of pride and competition, and be content with something plain that simply serves. You don't have to give up the automobile the way we do, but you can refuse to let it scatter and hurry and rule your life. And that, truly, is the whole spirit of why we do what we do. Let me tell you what our slower, closer, more local way gives us, so you can see it's not mere deprivation we've chosen, but something richer. It gives us a real community, neighbors who are truly near and truly known, a web of people who see one another daily, who help one another, who belong to one another, in a way the scattered modern world can hardly imagine. It gives us a rootedness, a deep belonging to one place and its people, that most folks ache for without even knowing what they're missing. It gives us a human pace, unhurried, present, lived at the speed the soul was made for. It gives us freedom from the endless competition and pride and expense of the automobile. And it gives us a self-reliance, a life we can provide for and mend with our own hands. When you take the car out of the center of a life, you don't get emptiness and isolation, as folks assume. You get all of that back, all the closeness and rootedness and peace the car had quietly been scattering to the winds. That's the trade. And having lived it, I'd not go back for anything. Now let me go back and press a little deeper on that difference between owning a thing and merely using it when there's need, because it's the very heart of how my people think, and it's a wisdom worth carrying into your own life, whatever you drive. We'll ride in a car when there's true need, a long journey we couldn't otherwise make, a trip to a far hospital, an emergency. We hire a neighbor with a car for such things. So it isn't that we think the car is untouchable. What we refuse is to own one, and here's why that matters so much. Owning a thing changes you. Once it sits in your own driveway, always ready, always yours, you build your whole life around it without ever deciding to. The far job becomes possible, so you take it. The distant errand becomes easy, so you do it. Slowly, inevitably, the thing you own reshapes your entire life around itself. But a thing you only use in true need stays a tool, used when it's truly needful and set aside otherwise, never taking over. That's a distinction the modern world has lost almost entirely, and it applies to far more than cars. So much of what folks own ends up owning them, reshaping their lives around itself simply by always being there. My people ask of everything, not just is this useful, but what will owning this do to the shape of our lives? That single question, asked honestly, would change a great many of the things folks bring into their lives. Let me dwell longer on the community too, because I don't think I can say strongly enough how much is lost when a community scatters, or how much is gained when it stays close. In a world without cars, everyone must live near. And when everyone lives near, remarkable things follow, things that have simply vanished from most modern lives. When someone's barn burns, or their crop needs bringing in fast, or sickness lays a family low, the whole community is right there, near enough to come at once, and they do come, dozens of hands, because that's what near neighbors do. When there's a birth, or a death, or a wedding, everyone is close enough to gather. The children grow up surrounded by kin and neighbors, all within reach, never isolated, always belonging. There's always someone near to lend a hand, share a meal, sit with the grieving, rejoice with the glad. That whole rich web of near, daily, real human connection depends entirely on people living close. And people living close depends on not having the car that would let them scatter. The modern world, with its cars, gained the whole wide world and lost the near one. And I'm not certain it knew what it was trading away until the trade was done and the neighbors were strangers. And let me press the point about pace once more, because I think it may be the thing your own soul most needs to hear. There is a violence in speed that we don't notice because we're so used to it. The car lets us hurl ourselves across great distances at great speed, and our whole lives have sped up to match, until folks are forever rushing, forever late, forever cramming one more thing into a day already too full, and never, ever simply present where they are. The pace of the horse is the pace a human being was made to move at. When you travel by buggy, you cannot rush. You go at the speed you go, and you're present for the whole of the journey, the road, the fields, the weather, the world passing by at a pace slow enough to actually see it. There's a peace in that the hurried modern soul can scarcely imagine. We didn't keep the slow pace because we couldn't get a faster one. We kept it because we came to understand that the fast pace was quietly stealing something from us, the ability to be present, to be unhurried, to live our lives rather than race through them. And of everything I've told you, that may be the piece most worth taking to heart, even if you never change a single other thing. I'll tell you a small thing that shows the whole difference. When my family travels somewhere by buggy, the going is part of the visit, not a thing to be gotten over with. We talk the whole way, the family together, watching the countryside, in no hurry at all, and by the time we arrive we've had hours of being together with nothing to distract us. Compare that to the modern way, where the drive is just dead time to be endured and hurried through. Everyone's silent or staring at a screen, the whole point being to get it over with as fast as possible so the real thing can begin. For us, the journey itself is real life, not a gap between real life. That's what the slower way gives back. All those hours that the fast way throws away as mere transit become instead some of the sweetest time a family has together. The car made the getting there worthless, a thing to be minimized. The buggy makes it precious. And I know which I'd rather have. So here's what I'd leave you with. The reason we refuse that one modern item is not because we hate progress or fear the new. It's because we looked long and clearly at what the car truly costs. The scattering of community, the loss of roots, the frantic pace, the pride and competition, the dependence on a system beyond us, and we decided that price was far too high for what it offered. We decided that closeness and roots and a human pace and humility and self-reliance were worth more to us than the speed and reach the car would give. And whether or not you ever park your own car for good, and I don't expect you will, I hope you'll at least do what we did. Look at it clearly, reckon the true cost, and then choose, on purpose, with open eyes, what place the automobile ought to hold in your one short, precious life. And let me tell you one more thing that I think is the deepest wisdom in all of this, deeper even than the car itself. It's how my people decide about any new thing at all. The modern world takes up every new invention the moment it appears, without ever once asking whether it will make life better or worse, simply because it's new and it's possible and everyone else is doing it. My people do the opposite. When something new comes along, we don't rush to it. We wait and we watch and we ask, carefully and together, what will this do to us? What will it do to our families, our community, our faith, our way of life? Will it draw us closer together or push us apart? Will it make us more dependent or more self-reliant? Will it serve our life or start to rule it? And only if a thing passes that careful weighing do we take it up. And often we take up a limited form of it on our own terms. That's the true reason behind the car and behind so much else. It isn't a blind rejection of the new, it's a thoughtful, deliberate weighing of every new thing against what matters most, and a refusal to let mere newness or convenience decide the shape of our lives for us. And that, I'd say, is the single most valuable thing in all of this for you to carry away, whatever you own and however you live. Not the specific answer we reached about the automobile, but the question itself. To pause before each new thing and ask honestly, what will this do to the life I truly want? The modern world almost never asks it, and a person who does ask it, even now, even surrounded by every convenience, holds a kind of quiet power over their own life that most folks have simply handed away. And I'll add a last word on the self-reliance, because it ties the whole thing together. There's a peace that comes from your life being built on things you can actually provide and understand and mend yourself. Our horse is fed from our own fields, cared for by our own hands, and if we need another, our own animals give us one. Our buggy is built and repaired by hands in our own community. Nothing in our way of getting about depends on a far-off company, a global supply of fuel, a system stretched around the whole world that we neither control nor comprehend. If the wider world's great machine were to falter tomorrow, our way of life would carry on scarcely changed, because it was never built on that machine in the first place. There is a deep, calm security in that, in standing on ground you can actually stand on, in a life you can actually provide for. The car, for all its power, ties you to a vast, fragile system entirely beyond you. The horse ties you only to your own land and your own hands and your own community. And of the two, I know which leaves a family truly free. Try this, just as a small beginning. This week, for a few of the short trips you'd normally drive without a thought, walk instead if you safely can. Walk to the near place. Walk in your own neighborhood, and notice what happens. How you see things you'd have blown past in the car. How you might greet a neighbor you'd never have met behind the glass. How the world slows to a human size and a human pace. It's a tiny thing, a few walks, but in it is a small taste of the whole older way, the closeness, the slowness, the rootedness, and that small taste might just begin to change how you think about the machine in your driveway and the scattered, hurried life it quietly asks you to live. If this is the kind of plain, honest reflection on the old ways that helps you see your own life a little more clearly, then stay here with me. There's so much more where this came from, and I aim to bring it back to you, one piece at a time. Subscribe, and we'll keep remembering the old ways together, because some of the most important things we ever knew are the simple ones we let ourselves forget. And a life lived close and rooted and slow and among people we truly know is surely one of them.